This conversation, this is video number 3, a continuation of video number 2. The conversation that we started is not going to die anytime soon, especially in an election year. So the Conservatives pressed their advantage on another case, that of Vice Admiral Mark Norman. The RCMP investigated a leak that was geared at undermining a $700 million contract for a temporary supply ship for the Navy. Charges were levied against Mark Norman, but the Public Prosecution Service of Canada declined to prosecute due to a number of complexities. Mark's lawyer, Mary Henin, accused Trudeau of withholding evidence even though she was not speak of those complexities. And everyone, a smart defense lawyer will always do that. They don't want to talk about it, but they will cite things that you can't have an explanation about. She took further shots at Trudeau for kicking out Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott, and noted that all of Norman's lawyers were women. Mary forgot when she defended an alleged date rapist and put a few women in purgatory with her blistering assault. As usual, the prosecutors were not prepared, and everyone, even an alleged rapist, is entitled to a defense. So, hooray for you, Murray. But don't be a hypocrite. Talking out of both sides of your mouth is not constructive. Everyone labeled you a sellout then. Trying to recover at Trudeau's expense does not hold water. I understand that Trudeau had nothing to do with the case, but you are insinuating, or are you, that he should have intervened with the RCMP? Andrew Scheer accused the Liberals of engaging in dangerous pattern to interfere in the judicial system. Andrew was in the Conservative Party when they tried to intimidate the Supreme Court. A lawsuit by lawyer Rocco Galati was required to stop that interference. They engaged in voter suppression with robocalling, shared space with right-wing and white supremacy supporters. Caroline Mulroney, the Attorney General of Ontario, just reversed some of the progressive regulations governing the Special Investigative Unit. Most of these regulations were hard-won by the communities most afflicted by police bias. Yet her department has judges throwing cases, lawyers destroying documents, and colluding with defense lawyers to sell out their clients. Her employees are crying out to the newspapers for help with their toxic cesspool environment. The policy of Cardin is once again demonizing the black community for no legal reason, and have been so since 1957. Yet all she does is to reverse a rule I never heard about governing the SIU. She claimed that the unit was being prosecuted for not giving CPR to someone in trouble. What is the rest of the story, Caroline? The Supreme Court ruled that no citizen can be denied a Canadian passport, not even a terrorist. If you are deemed a terrorist, if you are a Canadian citizen, you are entitled to that passport. Yet I was denied by the Conservatives. This was after incarceration was complete. Apparently, I was going to run away after leaving jail. Makes a lot of sense. The rule of law is worth nothing to the Conservatives. To get that passport, I would have had to go back with a lawyer to appeal this mess. Money that I did not have. They took my money. I never got the passport. I have no idea what the NDP would do if they had a chance to govern Canada, so I will reserve my comments here. I have been trying for 18 years to shed light on this matter. This is not about the independence of the judiciary or feminism. This upstanding branch of government is a perpetrator of exactly this kind of crime Jody Wilson-Raybould is protesting. Their hands are not clean. When it suits them, they take the same shortcuts they are accusing the executive branch of. When black and poor communities are abused by law enforcement, there is a softened approach from the judiciary. They too are enslaved by the lie told them so long ago that they're better than others. This teenager lost one of his eyes to law enforcement violence for no other reason than walking home while black. They beat up three black teenagers on their way to a meeting because they had the audacity to assert their rights to the police. The judiciary does not punish these perpetrators as they would others. You cannot cry wolf when it suits you. If fairness and impartiality is not in the fabric of your framework, you cannot point fingers at anyone. The entire system is rife with corruption and stinks to high heaven. This is exactly why I need the innocently convicted. We need stats. There is none in Canada. Wilson-Raybould, you were the Attorney General when the toxic cesspool scandal broke, February 22nd, 2018. Did you do anything about it? But I won't turn my back on you, because this is a much bigger problem than you, and everyone hides their head when confronted with the truth. Cowardice is also part of this fabric. This did not happen yesterday. It has been this way from the conception of this justice system. To the lawyers and prosecutors in the Attorney General's office in Toronto, I say to you, you owe the people whose lives you have helped to destroy some kind of help. If you fail to do the right thing, your children and loved ones should inherit the karma you have created. You know what you have done wrong. Do the right thing. Find a way to correct this. You're intelligent. You know what to do. Mr. Prime Minister, I will not pretend I know what it is like to run a country. I understand your concern over the loss of jobs and the economy, but the ends cannot justify the means. I have first-hand experience of a justice system that does not work. It commits fraud, obstructs justice, and incarcerates innocent poor and blacks to create job opportunities for law enforcement. The level of indignation at this request is hypocrisy 100-fold. There must be accountability, impartiality, and fairness for everyone, including judges, lawyers, and ministers. No one should be above the law, especially the ones tasked with enforcing it. The lines between the oversight committees and the people they are supposed to hold accountable have been erased. They are naked in bed together. I will repeat my call here for help from those who have walked in my shoes. Please help so we can give factual data to the public. Whilst it was the Bank of Montreal who ripped off the government, I was thrown out of my home with my son and all my money stolen by I don't know whom. My evidence destroyed multiple times, even by the very people who brought the charges. The lawyers were paid off. Judges were given their friends favorable results, even when the evidence was staring them in the face. I was put in chains and jailed for a crime that was never committed. I have spent the last 18 years of my life beholden to others for a living. I cannot apply for or get a job. Do you have any idea how many times I wanted to bash their dishonest heads in? But the ends cannot justify the means. It is not only the degradation and humiliation you have to fight against. The real fight of my life was to hold on to who I was. What content of character did I wish to retain, as rage threatened to tear me apart? I push on my left eye a lot. I need to activate common sense very often. I see the conservatives sharing stage with white nationalists, always trying to establish in our consciousness the idea that things will be better with this type of government. They deny it, but their policies and actions reflect that lie. I will never understand how the world would believe that one race of people could be better than the other. Is it fear, insecurity, brainwashing, or a sense of entitlement? The slaves worked the fields to make the money that brought their masters wealth and privilege. They took care of their homes, lands, put food on their table for no pay, nursed their babies when the mothers had no milk, was raped by the husbands, even when they were proclaiming that blacks were so ugly. They were bought, sold, beaten, branded, and brutally killed. They eventually got partial freedom. They never retaliated against their abusers. Their descendants are now trying to feed their families and still work very hard. They don't want to sit at your table. They don't try to attack you. Yet they are harassed, frustrated, and aggravated, being stopped for no reason and asked for all kinds of private information by the police. What is everyone so afraid of? Why this level of insecurity? Why the continued abuse? Always the actions are directed at the poor and ethnic. Then comes elections, and they are asked to prop up the government, and they deliver time and time again. But the judges are always white, socially inept, not always intelligent, and the cycle continues. This goes back years. Now the Attorney General of Ontario, Caroline Mulroney, rolls back the Special Investigative Unit, the laws, because she really does think that her offsprings will never have to call on the SIU. But let me give you a little example. Let us talk about human trafficking compared to slavery. See if all the actions are not here, with the color being the major difference. The abuse, the selling, the buying, non-payment for services, the branding, the beatings, rape and death. Just under a different name, and they do have law enforcement trying to protect this community. But it is no less horrendous. Remember the resurrected, refurbished, and recycled ideas? This is white slavery on your doorstep. Caroline Mulroney also removed from the refugees legal aid in Ontario. How like the Conservatives to blame the most vulnerable? Is Canada too full, Miss Caroline? To the Conservative Party, I say, you need new ideas. Do not be afraid of change. No one wants what you have or to be you. No one is trying to steal your house, your car, or your job. Beware of the King Midas syndrome. People just want to get on with life and support their family. I would never ask the Conservatives to help me with this justice system. They will never agree. Their historical progression assures me of this. Focus. We need to re-elect Justin Trudeau for the next 4 years. Within that 4 years, we must compile the data to back up our claims about the justice system. I know he will listen. He is young, but he is not brash. People speaking softly and admitting egregious acts of power is not a weakness. This is a strength. He is not afraid to engage communities and right wrongs, unlike the Conservatives who want to imitate Donald Trump because they think they can win with this type of politics. Canada, I want to remind you that this man said Canada was a national security threat to the US. This is how he got to renegotiate NAFTA, although Mr. Trudeau did put him in his place. He took the United States from one of the great democracies for 242 years and he made them a laughingstock of the world in just 2 years. If chaos, confusion, and hate is your focus, then good luck listening to the polls. To the people out there who have experienced injustice in the courts, join with me so we can make this system work from our experience. Prime Minister Trudeau will not be able to do this by me just asking him. First of all, he has no experience. He has never walked in our shoes. And to really enact deep, meaningful changes in this arena of injustice, he needs the backup data. Only people who have walked in our shoes can shine that light. I really have no confidence in Andrew Scheer to assist with the required changes. Push on your left eye, folks. You need to reactivate the common sense area. Don't be fooled. Think for yourselves. Ousting the man who listens and helps versus the others is not rocket science. It's just common sense. Weigh all the pros and cons. It is not just one occurrence. I know I will vote for Trudeau. I will not scapegoat him for the failures of society, nor will I apportion blame unfairly. Jody Wilson-Raybould, before you were the Justice Minister and the Attorney General of Canada, you were a prosecutor in British Columbia. In 2017, you denied federal funding to Innocence Canada. I was a little confused and disappointed. After all, your community suffers from the biggest impact of unjust incarceration. You are supposed to be the good guys, but Innocence Canada are in fact correcting the mistakes of the prosecutors. Was this why you balked? Were you trying to protect your corner? Were you not aware of the ongoing problems within the justice system? This is what I'm talking about. All of us need to do the right thing to reform this system. If I can be grounded when they stole my home, put me in chains, took away my freedom, stole my life, and continues to harass me and abuse me, then you can be grounded too. I wrote to all 3 parties asking for their help. 2 of them asked for donations, and 1 asked, "What is it you need?" Here is my plea again. all of the innocently convicted people who would like a chance to get the truth out, please contact me via my email on the website scorpion431.com. This is the only way we are going to enact the change required for a fair and impartial justice system. We can do this. The next video will be on the police, Heather Clark Smith, Wade Alfonso, and what they did in their investigation. I am sure you will identify with some of the events that took place. That is what I would like to hear about.